Hi, it's Mark Donegan with the Marketing Execution Podcast. Founders think building an audience takes years, but Nicholas Cole proved otherwise. He went from a nobody blogger to a top online writer by publishing daily on platforms that already had traffic. The problem is that most writers waste time on personal blogs with zero readers. Having built content strategies for tech startups, I know platform selection makes or breaks visibility. Now, here's my conversation breaking down Cole's system for turning consistent writing into a profitable business.
Up. It's marketing time. Bright ideas sparking, blowing your mind. From strategies to big exec dreams. Catch the buzz and join the execution. Marketing Convo.
Welcome to the Marketing Execution Podcast. This is the show for tech founders and leaders building B2B products and technologies. We show you how to go further, faster to get the business results you need.
From strategies to big exec dreams. Catch the buzz and join the execution. Marketing Convo.
Mark, I have been sitting with something all week that I can't shake. You know how we always tell founders to just start creating content, right? Post on LinkedIn, write threads, all that stuff. But I came across this framework that basically says most of them are doing it completely wrong from day one.
Oh, I love this already. Tell me more, because I see this all the time.
So the core idea is that founders waste months, sometimes years, building on the wrong foundation. They pour energy into a personal blog or website thinking that's the smart move. But here's the thing, there's no built-in audience there. It's like opening a store in the middle of a desert.
Yes. Oh man, this is so true. I once heard of a company, early stage SaaS startup. Founder was brilliant, great writer actually, but he spent 6 months publishing these beautiful long-form pieces on his own site. Guess how many people read them?
I'm guessing not many.
Basically, his mom and his co-founder. And that's not an exaggeration. Meanwhile, his competitor was posting the same quality stuff on LinkedIn and Medium, and within 3 months had 10,000 followers and inbound leads coming in weekly.
So the platform choice is everything at the start.
It's foundational. And look, this isn't just about vanity metrics. The platforms give you data, views, likes, comments, engagement rates. You can actually see what's resonating. On your own blog, you're flying blind.
Okay, so let's dig into this. If I'm a founder listening to the Marketing Execution Podcast right now, what's the actual playbook here?
All right, so there are really 3 critical pieces that most people miss, and this idea is based on Nicholas Cole. First is the platform strategy we just talked about. Second is this concept of writing to discover your niche. And third, which honestly might be the most important, is the transition from platform to owned audience.
Wait, hold on. Writing to discover your niche. That's backwards from what everyone says.
I know, but think about it. How many founders pick a niche based on what they think will work, spend months creating content around it, and then realize nobody cares?
Oh, there are too many. And I've seen it happen.
Exactly. The smarter approach is to start with 3 or 4 topics you're genuinely interested in, rotate between them, publish consistently, like at least every other week, ideally more. And then after 6 months, look at the data. What's actually getting traction? What are people engaging with?
So you're letting the market tell you what your niche should be.
Precisely. And here's the hidden secret nobody talks about. Your niche isn't just your topic, it's the intersection of your topic, your specific audience, and your style. So maybe you start writing about relationships, but the data shows your stuff about relationship management for people dealing with mental health challenges is what really hits. That's your niche.
That's so specific, though. Doesn't that limit your audience?
This is the trap everyone falls into. They think broad equals more opportunity, but in content, specific equals memorable. Specific equals becoming the go-to person. I saw a recent report that said niche newsletters actually have higher engagement rates and better conversion to paid subscribers than general ones. We're talking like 5% conversion rates on super targeted content.
Okay, that makes sense. So you find your niche through data, you narrow down, but then what? You can't stay on LinkedIn forever, right?
Right. And this is where the third piece comes in, the transition. Once you have an audience that's consistently engaging with your content, you need to start moving them to something you own, an email list, a website, whatever, but you do it subtly.
What do you mean by subtly?
So there was this one founder who would end every single post with like, sign up for my newsletter, buy my course, check out my website. Every single post. And his engagement just tanked because people felt like they were being sold to constantly.
Yeah, that's exhausting as a reader.
Totally. The better approach is to add value while you're directing them. So instead of saying, hey, go read my other article, you say something like, if you're struggling with this specific problem, I actually wrote a deeper guide on it. And you hyperlink naturally within the content. The reader gets value, you get the click. Everyone wins.
That's all again, actually. It doesn't feel salesy.
And that's when you can start building what I call pillar pieces. These are comprehensive guides that pull together everything you've written about a topic. They become the hub that all your other content points to.
So the individual posts are like spokes on a wheel?
Perfect analogy. And once you have people on your platform, on your email list, then you can start thinking about monetization. Paid newsletters, courses, consulting, whatever fits your model.
You know what's interesting about all this? It's really a long game. You're not making money for months, maybe longer.
Oh, absolutely. And that's why consistency matters so much. I mean, if you can't commit to publishing regularly for 6 months to a year, this probably isn't your path. But the founders who do commit, they built this incredible asset. An audience that trusts them, content that compounds over time, and eventually, multiple revenue streams.
The compounding piece is huge. Every new piece of content builds on what came before.
And it becomes a moat. Your competitor can't just copy your audience relationship. They can't replicate the trust you've built over hundreds of pieces of content.
Mark, that's fascinating. Let's pivot for a second and talk about what this means for a founder with zero budget who needs results in the next 90 days.
You know, that question right there is exactly where most advice falls apart, because everyone talks about building audiences and finding your niche, but nobody addresses the founder who's got rent due and needs to see something happen now.
Right, and I think that's why so many founders abandon content entirely. They read all this stuff about playing the long game and they're like, cool, but I need leads this quarter.
Exactly. And here's what I've come to understand after watching dozens of startups try this. The 90-day timeline isn't actually about getting famous or building a massive following. It's about getting signal.
Signal, meaning what exactly?
Meaning you're using content as a discovery mechanism. You're not trying to become an influencer in 3 months. That's unrealistic. But you can use consistent publishing to figure out what resonates with your target customers, what problems they actually care about, what language they use to describe those problems.
Oh, so it's almost like customer research disguised as content creation.
Yes, and this is the part that changes everything for resource-strapped founders. When you post something and it gets engagement, that's market feedback. When something falls flat, that's also feedback. You're essentially running free focus groups every time you publish.
I never thought about it that way. So even if you're not getting thousands of views, you're still learning. Okay, let's get practical here. A founder with no budget, limited time, where do they actually start?
3 things. First, pick one platform. Don't spread yourself thin trying to be everywhere. LinkedIn is usually the best bet for B2B founders because that's where decision makers hang out. Second, commit to publishing at least twice a week. Not once a month when you feel inspired. Twice a week, every week.
That sounds like a lot when you're also running a company.
It does until you realize each post can be 300 words. We're not talking about writing novels here. You can bang out a decent LinkedIn post in 20 minutes if you know what you're saying.
And the third thing.
The third, track everything. Not just likes and comments, but who's engaging. Are they your target customers? Are they people who could actually buy from you? Because 100 likes from random marketers means nothing if you're selling to CFOs.
So vanity metrics versus actually useful metrics.
Exactly. And this connects back to why the niche discovery process matters so much. You're not just finding what topics perform well, you're seeing what topics attract the right people.
It's funny because this sounds so obvious when you say it out loud, but I see founders making this mistake constantly. They get excited about a viral post and don't even check if the people engaging are potential customers.
Oh man, all the time. I saw one founder celebrate getting 50,000 views on a post. 50,000. But when I asked him how many of those viewers fit his ideal customer profile, he had no idea. Turns out most of them were other founders and content creators, not the enterprise buyers he needed.
That's brutal.
It is, but it's also fixable once you know to look for it. The data's right there. Most people just don't bother to analyze it properly.
So we've talked about signal and discovery and tracking the right metrics, but I want to push on something. What about the founder who says, okay, I get it, but I still need actual revenue? Content feels too indirect.
Fair point. Well, once you start getting engagement from the right people, you can use that content as a door opener. Someone comments on your post, that's permission to start a conversation. Someone shares your article, that's a warm introduction waiting to happen.
So the content becomes a prospecting tool.
A prospecting tool that doesn't feel like prospecting. Because you're not cold messaging people asking for 15 minutes of their time. You're responding to genuine interest they've already shown.
That's actually brilliant. You're flipping the whole outbound model on its head.
And it works because it's authentic. The person already knows you're thinking. They've seen how you approach problems. By the time you have a conversation, half the trust building is already done.
Mark, this is gold. I feel like we could talk about this for hours, but I want to make sure we give listeners something they can actually implement. So let's shift gears and get into the specific tactics and frameworks they can start using tomorrow.
Okay, so first thing, you got to pick your platform and commit. I know we touched on this, but let me give you a real example. There's this founder, ran a B2B SaaS company selling to HR teams. She was posting everywhere, LinkedIn, X, Medium, even TikTok for some reason.
TikTok for HR software.
I know, right? Anyway, she was burning like 10 hours a week on content and getting nowhere. So she stopped everything except LinkedIn, just LinkedIn. And within 45 days, she had 3 qualified demos come through from people who found her posts.
Wait, 3 demos from organic content in 6 weeks?
3 demos. And here's the thing, she wasn't even posting anything fancy, just sharing operational problems she was solving for her own team. Real stuff, like how she reduced onboarding time or whatever.
So the first step is literally just pick one platform and go all in.
That's step 1. Step 2 is what I call the 1-sentence test. And this is going to sound almost too simple, but it works. You sit down and write 1 sentence that describes the pain you solve. Just 1.
Okay, I feel like most founders would say they already know that.
They think they do, but when you actually make them write it down, it's a mess. It's like 3 sentences cramped together with 5 different value props. If you can't say it in under 15 words, your messaging is broken.
Can you give me an example of a good one?
Sure, Notion. Their early positioning was basically, we replace 5 tools with 1 workspace. That's it. Clean, simple. You hear it and you immediately know if it's relevant to you.
And if you can't nail that sentence,
then you're not ready to create content because every piece you write should connect back to that core pain. Think of it like a recipe, right? Your ideal customer profile is the main ingredient. Your channels are the heat. Your messaging is the seasoning. You can't cook without knowing what dish you're making.
I love that analogy. Okay, so we've got pick one platform, nail your 1 sentence. What's next?
Next is the 2x2 framework, and this is where it gets really practical. Every week, you post 2 pieces of content. One is what I call a signal post. The other is a value post.
Break that down for me.
Signal posts are short, like 3 or 4 sentences. You're testing an idea or an opinion to see if it resonates. You're basically running a micro experiment. Does this topic get engagement? Do the right people respond? And then value posts are longer, maybe 500 words. These are where you go deep on something your signal post told you matters. You're giving people actual frameworks or steps they can use.
Okay, this is good. But how do you know if the right people are engaging? Like you mentioned earlier, 50,000 views means nothing if they're all other founders.
This is where most people mess up. They look at total engagement and feel good about themselves, but you got to click into who is engaging. On LinkedIn, you can literally see job titles. Are these people who could buy from you? Are they at companies that fit your target?
So you're manually checking?
At first, yeah, until you get a feel for it. There's this company called Loom, right? When they were early, their founder was posting content constantly, but he wasn't just celebrating likes. He was tracking which viewers were product managers at mid-sized companies because that was his buyer.
And that informed what he wrote next.
100%. He noticed posts about async communication got way more engagement from his target than posts about video editing features. So he doubled down on async. That became their whole positioning.
It's so obvious when you explain it, but I bet 90% of founders skip this step.
They do, because checking who's engaging feels tedious, but it's literally free market research. You're getting paid in data every time you post.
Okay, so let's say someone's been doing this for a month. They're posting twice a week, they're tracking who engages. What do they do with that information?
Now you start the conversation. And this is the part that feels uncomfortable, but it works. Someone comments on your post, you reply, but then you also send them a direct message. Not a pitch, just a genuine follow-up.
Like, what would you actually say?
Something like, hey, I noticed your comment on onboarding challenges. We're actually building something in that space. Would love to hear more about what you're dealing with. That's it. No ask for a meeting, no calendar link, just curiosity.
And people respond to that?
Way more than cold outreach, because you're not a stranger anymore. They've already seen your thinking. They know you're credible. Half the trust building is done before you even message them.
Thoughtful pause. So to recap, pick one platform, nail your one-sentence positioning, use the 2x2 framework with signal posts and value posts, track who engages, not just how many, and then start conversations with the right people.
That's the playbook. And the beautiful thing is, you can start tomorrow. You don't need budget, you don't need a marketing team, you just need to commit to showing up consistently.
Mark, this has been incredibly tactical. I feel like we've covered so much ground today. Before we wrap up, can you give listeners a quick summary of everything we've talked about across this whole conversation?
All right, let me bring this all together. We started by talking about why most founders fail at content from day one. They build on the wrong foundation by posting to their own blogs where nobody can find them. The smart move is to start on platforms like LinkedIn, where the audience already exists and the data tells you what works. Then we covered the discovery approach. You test 3 or 4 topics, publish consistently, and let the market tell you what resonates. Your niche is the intersection of your topic, your audience, and your style. Well, for founders with zero budget and 90 days to show results, content becomes a discovery tool. You're running free focus groups every time you post. Track who engages and use that engagement to start real conversations with potential customers. Finally, pick one platform, nail your one-sentence positioning, and use the 2x2 framework with signal posts and value posts. Then turn engagement into conversations without being salesy.
Mark, after all that, what's the one thing you really hope people don't forget?
Your content is not about building an audience. It's about building trust before anyone knows they need you. The founders who win are the ones who show up consistently for months before they ever ask for anything. When the moment comes and someone has the problem you solve, you're already the person they think of. You can't buy that. You can only earn it. The Marketing Execution Podcast is produced by Growth Stage Marketing. We are on a mission to see your company reach wild success using marketing pods.
Too big, accept dreams. Catch the buzz and join the execution. Marketing Convo.
Thank you for listening and being a part of the marketing execution movement and community. To learn how growth stage marketing clients reach more buyers and drive business impact, go to growthstage.marketing. That's growthstage.marketing.